arguably one of the most iconic drift tracks in the world. It's been on the FD roster since 2004 and only one of 2 tracks since day one.
Welcome back to Irwindale Speedway. We are in Irwindale, California, playing host to our Type S title fight. We saw a round 7 of the pro competition on Friday evening. Frederick Osbo, the Norwegian Hammer, came out on top. And then last night we saw Mike Power get his first ever win at this iconic track. And then we crowned a Link ECU Pro 2 champion in Dmitry Brudsky. His motto is never settle, and he did just that. The pressure is on for these 5 drivers. We are talking about our current points leader, Vaughn Gittin Jr. Vaughn Gittin Jr. leads the pack. Right behind him, you got Ryan Tuerck. Literally, there's Ryan Tuerck in that lineup. Now, Ryan Tuerck had a very difficult Friday evening. Can he put it together? Ryan, the other one, you got Chelsea Denofa. He's sitting all the way back, 4th in points. He needs some things to really shake up the finishing order. Chris Forsberg
Look at that.
Popped his engine, his new ride. That vehicle was piloted by Pat Gooden a few moons ago, and here it is. And then, of course, look at this. Frederick Osbo.
Wow.
He's not on track. Frederick Osbo, in celebratory fashion, does a burnout, pops his engine Friday night. Guess what? Last night, they put a new engine in. He goes and does burnouts this morning, rod knock. So they are currently replacing the engine in Osbo's car. Not where you want to be when everybody else is practicing, Ryan.
Yeah, tough times for the Papadakis racing crew, who are working feverishly to get Frederick Osbo out on the track. Now, we will see Osbo on the right-hand side of the bracket, but as we take a look at how things are lacing up here, you can see, as we talked about, Chelsea Denofa and Chris Forsberg, they are definitely going to need some massive help. Forsberg will be eliminated from competition as soon as Vaughn makes it into the top 16, if he indeed does that.
Eliminated from the championship.
Eliminated from the championship. Yep. And our focus really right now is on those top 3 guys, Vaughn Gittin Jr., Ryan Tuerck, and Frederick Osbo. Here's some of the potential scenarios. If Gittin makes it to the Final 4, he will clinch the championship. Ryan Tuerck, he pretty much has to win without Vaughn Gittin Jr. being in the Final 4. Osbo, he also needs to win, but the big battle is the potential one between him and Vaughn Gittin Jr. in the round of 16.
That's right.
Now, both Chris Forsberg and Chelsea Denofa have a mathematical chance, but their scenarios will not come into play unless we see some of these big guys go out early.
Yeah, you got to think that Denofa, Denofa and Forsberg are literally just thinking about a top 3 finish. They know who they're going against. They've seen, Vaughn Gittin Jr. be, and if you look at it, you got kind of a RTR bookends with 2 Toyotas in the middle, a little Toyota Oreo there, and then Chris Forsberg looking on the outside in. Talking with him, he's looking for a top 3 finish. He knows the championship is really not within reach, I should say. Again, that backup car, Osbo, his engine, Ryan Tuerck, where's his head at? The other night when he goes to initiate, it comes out of drift and slaps the wall. He said that was completely driver error. Vaughn Gittin Jr. got a lot of momentum. Chelsea Denofa, again, RTR. Well, guess what? Our girl on the ground, again, we got Ryan Sage, myself, Jared Deanda up in the booth, but down on the ground getting all the heat, Lorette Nickel is with our current points leader.
Jared, thank you so much. Vaughn, we saw you go into the wall round 7. How is the car today?
It's 100%. RTR boys worked all day yesterday out here, completely tore down both cars just like they would prep them back at the shop. Everything's been back on the scales, all aligned, and this is the exact same car we showed up with this weekend. So, I'm just pumped to be here. It's a beautiful day in Irwindale, and looking forward to some good battles all through the night.
Now, with round 7, you were talking to me about mental blocks with outside zone 1. Do you feel like you've beaten that?
Yeah, no, I just kind of got a little, like I mentioned, a little late bloomy here the last couple of years. And that's all clear. I got a ton of practice on Friday night, obviously, and super comfortable now running the super high line. fact I was getting a little bit too comfortable, which is what you guys saw when I was running with Chelsea, and just went that extra couple inches. But so now I've got that happy medium. I just dialed down my marks in practice and feeling good. Looking forward to it all.
40 points ahead in the championship hunt. How do you take this today step by step?
Yeah, it's just about one battle at a time, you know, and stop talking about the championship. It's just more about just go out there, you know. You got to acknowledge in these situations what got you here, and it's that focus, that every single battle focus is what earned you being in these positions, and we're just going to stay there all the way through the night, and the results will dictate where those numbers end up.
And one of the Formula Drift OGs, you have seen competition from the beginning. Man, from that long ago, can you imagine that you'd be standing in this position right now?
I mean, look, I'm not surprised. You know, we work really hard for this. So, you know, earning a championship is just a piece of hardware that represents that, you know, you worked harder and got some better points than others in a series, you know. So for us, you know, the success that we earn, I'm not surprised by any of it, because all of our guys, myself, everybody that's involved in our program lives for this. Like, this is their passion. This is not money. This is love. And, you know, when you can surround yourself with that type of excellence and energy, the results just come. And so for that, I say it all the time, I'm extremely grateful for the people that surround me, and that's why we're even having this conversation.
All right, Vaughn, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Jared?
Yeah, and you could feel that confidence that Vaughn's talking about. Notably, Vaughn Gittin Jr. goes against Kyle Mohan, who we didn't see until Texas. We skipped the first 4 rounds, and now here he is, and that's who he's going to be going against. But speaking of our previous rounds, Ryan, Frederick Osbo started the season with the win, and he is our most recent winner. Yeah,
you know, he didn't have the middle season. He made some, driving errors and some mistakes. Obviously had that mechanical in Seattle that certainly hurt him. But it is really interesting as we go off of the tail end of what Vaughn said, looking back at the beginning of the season, where we all started, and the Papadakis Racing boys really came out strong. There was a lot of hype on Frederick Osbo's Supra. It has certainly lived up to that. He seemed to be peaking at the right time to take an event win. And then Chelsea Denofa came back and basically said, you know what, I'm going to be running for a championship this year. Got the win in round 2. We also saw Odi Bakchis kind of play a role early on, but wasn't really able to fulfill what we expect from him after 2 third-place finishes the past couple of years. Then Vaughn comes on in a very strong way. Back-to-back wins in Seattle, and a very memorable moment with Justin Pollack, the pass heard around the world that we called it. And it was super crazy to see a 17-year veteran. In any other sport, you're at the tail end of your career if you've even made it that long, and he's been leading the championship for the past few rounds, looking like he is a young driver a la 2010 when he captured 6 or 7 podiums. But this is a different kind of motorsport. There's not only the car builds and the driver skill, there's the preparation, there's a little bit of luck, especially in this year with the way that the bracket is seated. Now we see the bracket is laid out here. We've got Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Ryan Tuerck on opposite ends of the bracket, and Frederick Osbo looking like he could potentially meet Vaughn Gittin Jr. in the top 16. So we are going to have one heck of an event here to cap off season 17 to find out who's going to be our champion. Is it going to be Ryan Tuerck looking for his very first, Gittin for number 2, or Osbo for number 2? That's right. Outside chance with Denofa and Forsberg, but I think the focus right now is on those 3 guys, and they have put together their program this year in such a way to put themselves in this position. When you start the beginning of the season, everything is possible. As you start getting closer to the end, the possibilities start to constrain themselves a lot more, and now we know what the math is pointing towards. And also adding to that, like we said, those different scenarios, Vaughn, needs to get into here, but Tuerck needs to win. Osbo, like you said, could meet Vaughn Gittin Jr. in the top 16. At that point, he'd be in charge of his own destiny if he will be champion or not to take out Vaughn Gittin Jr. and potentially continue on. Again, he would need to win and prior to that beat Vaughn Gittin Jr. And, I don't want to bring up old stuff, but let's just remember. But let's definitely. Vaughn Gittin Jr. denied Osbo a championship in the James Deane era just 2 years ago. And that was a very significant moment. They came down to 2 one more times. Yep. here at Irwindale Speedway, one of my favorite seasons of all time. Vaughn Gittin Jr. was not really performing that well in 2018, but just turned over a new leaf in that event, dominated all the way through, met Frederick Osbo in the finals, and beat him. Yep. Had Osbo won, he would have captured his second championship. Now there's a possibility they could face each other. You have to know that that is going through both of their minds, especially Frederick Osbo.
Yeah, and Osbo always trying to keep a cool head about, just like, oh, wow, this and that. But bringing up old stuff again, because that's what we do. The previous 3 years, 19, 18, 17, talking about those years, James Deane was the champion, and guess who was second all 3 of those years? Frederick Osbo. So not only does that, kind of getting back at Vaughn Gittin Jr. play a role, but getting that championship overall. Yeah, and as we take a look at the track here, this is a brand new course layout for 2020. We've obviously seen two full competitions between Pro Round 7 and Pro 2 Round 4 last night, which was extremely exciting. We've got that right-hand hook at the end. It's the only part of the course that doesn't have a wall on the outside zone, and it is made for some very interesting drifting. We know that tire wear can be an issue for these guys. How much wheel speed are they using in the car? How are they managing their grip? And Irwindale, as you mentioned early in one of the earlier shows, the conditions right now on the track are not going to be the same as they are in the top 16. Right, yeah, with the sun setting. And also, just adding to that, I think the hook at the end is a great addition, given that tire attrition has been a thing, and you made the comment, I believe, as a Texas, just about some of these tires lasting longer. Again, holding together, not debeating, not doing some certain things that they've done in previous years. And also, with it being that hook, you're throwing that weight on that left side because it's, big right, quick transition, back to the right, and then you end on the left. And, again, I really do wish that could be a wall with those pylons, and we'll break it down what the judges are looking for. Looking at Adam LZ, I believe he has a great shot, and it might even be locked mathematically for being FD Pro Rookie of the Year. And he's got a lot of fans. It's great to see him back behind the wheel of his beautiful looking S15, the fade, from yellow to red, and again, Rookie of the Year. So
yeah, and I, just to kind of pick up on a point you mentioned, these cars are beautiful. They've got great paint jobs. They're stickered up. They look awesome with all the rims and everything else. But the engineering that the teams are putting into these cars makes them do things that don't seem possible.
Right.
I have personally seen telemetry data where a guy grabs the e-brake and doesn't slow down in momentum. That just seems counterintuitive. And so the way that these guys are drifting now, the tools that they're using and how these cars are being built is what makes the sport so exciting. It also is what makes it so challenging for the judges to understand what a car is doing on course, the behavior that it is putting out there, and be able to make those judgments, because it does come down to these 3 guys at the end of the day. And the reason that we sit in those drivers' meetings is for drivers to get a good understanding of what the judges are looking for and how do I go out there and win. And winning today for the champion, whoever that may be, is going to be the most important moment of this season.
Builds, the different vehicle builds, the technique, how you drive, who you go against, and of course, the menacing track. And we saw this track take out quite a few people, both in Pro and Pro 2. Speaking of technique, speaking of builds, changing things up here this weekend, our 3-time champ, Chris the Force Forsberg, is with Lorette Nickel.
Jared, thank you very much. Chris Forsberg has stepped out of his 370Z into an S14 and talked to us about what led to this change.
Oh boy, it's been a lot of things up until now. And so on Thursday, we lost the motor, and so we were doing what we could to salvage the weekend. We got the demo car out for Friday for round 1. And that car, it's built to the same chassis specs as my pro car, and so it was legal to come out and run. However, it just only makes half the power, literally 500 horsepower versus 1,000 that's out here on average. And so I came out, I took my by run, and then at that point I just didn't feel comfortable putting that car into competition, potentially hurting myself or others. And so we actually bowed out of the competition, with that car. And then now moving into Sunday for round 8, we wanted the best chance we could get, and Matt Field was nice enough to offer up his car, and so we rented that. My guys drove up to San Francisco, or just south of it, to Matt's shop, picked up the car, met us 2 hours north at Buttonwell yesterday. We went and burned a couple sets off of the car, felt really good, and so we came out here, and here we are. So we're here to to run to the bitter end.
Wow. And Chris, are you getting more and more comfortable with putting the back bumper on outside zone 1 in the walls?
Yeah, so the first couple, just slowly easing into it. I think I got 5 practice laps, and, we got up on the wall on the, 2 to go, and then my last run we scraped up on the bank wall, and so we're definitely getting more comfortable with where the edges of the car is and how it makes power and how it wants to react.
Chris, good luck today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy, right? And again, I knew the other day that what he was doing, but I didn't want to say anything just in case it didn't come to fruition.
Sure.
He might not have felt comfortable because, let's be honest, truth be told, I know you like that saying, he's never driven a non-Nissan-powered vehicle in Formula Drift competition. From 2004, I mean, he entered with the SR-powered 350Z. He did progress into an S15, eventually another Z with a V8, but there's all still Nissan-powered.
Yeah.
So this being, this was piloted by Pat Gooden. Prior to that was piloted by Matt Field. And here's his vehicle, LS, supercharged, a gang of nitrous. This is a totally different build. Here's our championship history. Speaking of Chris Forsberg, 3-time champ, and we have another 3-time champ actually joining us all the way from Ireland. He is joining us. What is up, James Deane, the machine? What's up?
How are you guys? It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while, but it's great to see your face. I see you're still busy, man. You're still having fun over there in Ireland, you and your lady making videos, and you got a particular sweet hot rod for your birthday from your lady Queen Bee there. And maybe elaborate on that thing.
Yeah, so Becky, I don't know, was it a breakup present or what she was trying to do? But basically, she surprised me with a Lada 2101, left-hand drive 1.2, and we've been just it's been putting huge smiles on my face, just having a laugh, and we've been trying to drift it, go off-road with it, and have all sorts of fun. But it's just been a year to kind of take a break and relax, and we've been watching FD. I've just been back in Ireland, spending time with family and friends, and just enjoying the downtime, really. But it's good to see what's going on there.
Yeah, I bet you got to be chomping at the bit just seeing the track. And I assume you have a little bit of FOMO here, seeing everybody here at Irwindale. What do you think of how everything unfolded? I mean, Frederick Osbo comes out of the gate. He wins round one. We saw Chelsea. Vaughn dominant in Seattle. Texas, you saw Tuerck. We saw Chris Forsberg. Overall, what do you make of the season?
It's been really enjoyable. For me, very different to go from competing with the best in the business to watching from the sidelines. So that's been a big adjustment for me. But, it's been really enjoyable. Definitely a lot less pressure for me. But I've enjoyed every bit of it. Frederick started strong, but I got to say Vaughn is a man on a mission. And it's great to see someone that has put so much into drifting over the years to still be having so much success this much time after. It's really, really enjoyable, and it's going to be an interesting night. I'm excited for it, and can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
We always talk about the progression in the sport, James, and obviously you've been lucky enough to drift all over the world. Did you notice anything different this year in the way that drivers prepared from what you saw on the broadcast, and the progression of the vehicles or driving style habits or anything like that? Is there something that stood out to you at all?
I think probably one of the biggest things that stood out to me was the lack of qualifying, and I feel like everyone is really focusing on tandem driving. So usually before in previous years, everyone would be trying hard to nail down a perfect qualifying run in practice, but I don't think everyone is chasing that as much anymore. So I think the lead runs are maybe not as good as they used to be from part of the field, but everyone is really, really trying to go door to door and taking a lot of chances in the chase position, and I think that's what's most exciting anyway. So definitely some pros and cons to it, in my opinion, but I think the show has been really enjoyable for me to watch, and tonight's the big one.
Yeah, I guess the question is not if, but when we go back to normal, would you like to see the reintroduction of qualifying, or is it something, I got Ryan sitting next to me here and he's giving me evil eyes, I'm joking, but could we potentially get rid of qualifying? Or Mr. 100 over here, again, there's very few drivers that have received a 100-point perfect qualifying score. Yourself, JTP, Tanner Faust, and I believe Reese Millen, part of that small alma mater there, but could you see us potentially just getting rid of qualifying?
Personally, I'd like to see it come back. And me as a fan of drifting, like any championship that I'm tuning into, if I'm not driving, I'd always tune into qualifying as well. But I'm obviously a diehard drift fan as well as driver. So personally, I would like to see it back. I really, really enjoy even the challenge as a driver to try to get that perfect lead run. And then if you manage to pull it off in practice and do well in qualifying, you try to keep that going all throughout the competition. And I think it also gives the guys that are chasing you a really good run out front to get really close on the door. So personally, I think it has more advantages than disadvantages.
Hey, James, as we look at some of the judging criteria here that we call the lead and chase driver goals. Is there a way that you think about approaching tandem? I mean, you'd always had a lot of success in qualifying, which kind of puts you in a position to lead first. But do you think about the approach, whether or not you're leading or chasing first? And what do you think about as your goals when you're in that position?
Yeah, personally, I prefer leading first. It just gives you a chance to get out there, feel the car again, get in your groove, and you're out front, so you have a chance to also see how the guy get on behind you. And then you kind of have a better idea of how hard to push when you're chasing. But to be honest, over the last few years, no matter where I'm competing, people are bashing my doors off. So it's always like switch it around and go as hard as you can. But yeah, that's my strategy. Just take it one step at a time. And I really think a lot of people are doing the same this year. You can see Vaughn there. He's trying not to think about everything too much. And Ryan Tuerck this year has been absolutely amazing, and great to see him jump in a new car and have so much success with it. So, yeah, personally, that's the way I like to approach it.
Not to put you on the spot, and I know you're a huge fan of drifting in general, but, you know, you and Osbo went tit for tat. Obviously, there was that really tense moment in 2018 where it came down to the last run here at Irwindale Speedway when Vaughn beat Osbo. You have anybody that you want to see win here tonight, that championship?
Of course, yeah. I think Vaughn deserves it, to be honest. I think that, you know, as I said earlier, he's put so much into drifting over the years, and I think that he deserves it. He's really focused. He seems to be in the right place mentally, and he's pushing hard, man. And it's really good to see what he can do. You know, what am I, 29 years old, and he's 10 years older than me, and he's, you know, running doors and rubbing walls, and it's awesome to see, and it gives me good hope as well for the future. So full respect to him and the whole team, and yeah, let's see if he can take it all the way.
I mean, it's been 10 years, and you're showing, you know, he's showing his age. These are the scenarios here, James, if you haven't been following along here. But again, reiterating to the fans, if you're just tuning in, we are jumping into 32 here in a little bit. And these are the scenarios. Vaughn Gittin Jr. clinches the championship if he makes it into top 4. His first battle in 32 is against Kyle Mohan. Ryan Tuerck has to win with Vaughn Gittin Jr. stopping in the top 4, right? And then Frederick Osbo could win, and he's in charge of his own fate, because if Freddie moves on from 32 to 16, he will meet Vaughn Gittin Jr. in the 16. So he'd have to beat Vaughn and then continue on. I feel like it's Mario Brothers. He goes against Bowser right out of the gate and then continues on through more drivers and eventually to get that championship.
Well, what I would want to know from James is, like, did you think about any of these scenarios coming into the final round when you're in your championship? Like, what kind of pressure did you put on yourself or not put on yourself in approaching this final round where it was going to come down to a few battles to decide the championship?
Yeah, man, Irwindale, to be honest, is one tough track, even if it was a practice day and there was no pressure. And when these guys have, you know, championships on the line and they're trying to perform at 100%, it's crazy pressure. I've to be honest, I've never felt anything like it. But you actually have to treat it just one step at a time. Do every lap. Try not to get ahead of yourself, thinking about what could happen, what do I need to do. Personally, I wasn't even doing the maths of where I needed to finish. And even last year, I didn't realize that I won the championship when I did. I thought I had to go one battle further. And it's just, it's an intense game. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure. It's a crazy track, amazing to drive when you get it right, but it can bite you in the ass so quick as well.
Yeah, and I knew you were going to say that. I mean, every driver says that, one race at a time, because I mean, honestly, if you're like, dude, I gotta win the whole dang thing, and if you just jump to conclusions, you're gonna jump right into the wall, because you're gonna psych yourself out, and that's with any sport, or even if it's surfing or anything. You just have to take every wave at a time, right?
I think so, yeah, and you know, James obviously put himself in a position to capture that 3 times in a row, and I'm tempted to ask you, James, as we look at Ryan Tuerck getting on the line here for his bye.
Do it, lay it on him. What do you got?
Do you have a favorite championship? What year?
For James,
yeah. What year?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. The first year was my dream year. That day when I did my buy run in top 32, I never felt a relief of pressure and happiness in all my life. And it was also my birthday as well. So
that's right.
It was like the biggest dream of my life come true. My birthday, like just having fun out there in a buy run, to like put it all out there, and just... It's still, when I see clips on YouTube or watch it back in the live stream, like it does make me emotional, because it was just such an amazing day.
Well, we'll have you stick around here, James the Machine Deane, join us live from Ireland. This is Ryan Tuerck. He gets his bye run, so this is one step closer to fighting for that championship. We talked about the scenario. He would need to win the event, and Vaughn Gittin Jr. abruptly stopped earlier in the competition, not going beyond Final Four. That is possible. That is a feasible, realistic approach, you know, and we do have, again, that consolation battle for third place, but Ryan Tuerck looks like he's back. He's comfortable. He admitted it. He had that mistake there on Friday night. He says it was completely on me, lost it, got slick, went into the wall, but his team and his vehicle looks like it's back up and buttoned up.
Yeah, I actually want to pick up on something that you said earlier on. I think that, you know, this obvious bye run for Tuerck is not that big of a deal. It's really just about going out there and doing it.
Right.
But he will not have drifted in the conditions that he had when he did his big crash until that time of the night again in the top 16. And I wonder, like, psychologically how he feels about approaching that. And maybe we could ask you, James, like, I don't remember you having any super crazy big wrecks, but were there moments where you kind of had to, like, reapproach coming back from, say, a halftime break and thinking about, you know, if I go out and go 100%, I might crash in the same place I did? Or did you ever have anything like that in the 3 years that you were here?
Yeah, for sure. You know, when it goes dark, you're kind of questioning, oh, is the grip going to be more or is it going to be less? And your visual references that you've been practicing all day in the you know, LA sun is totally different. So it's dark, and just your reference points is probably the biggest change. And it is definitely tricky, but you just need to not try to panic yourself too much and just treat it as it's going to be as it was before. So you just have to really go for it, because if you don't, you're probably going to be beat anyway. So it's a tricky one. It's a bit of risk and reward.
And track layout, do you like this layout better than the continued hook, or is it would you have rather seen last year's layout?
I personally like it. I would potentially look at putting maybe some wall or something solid on the last hook on the outside, because I can imagine at night time it must be almost impossible to see.
Yep.
All right, well, we're going to have you reverse roles here, James. You're going to be kind of our fourth judge, or maybe just our third commentator here. Want to get feedback about our first official head-to-head run here of round 8 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. And I'm sure your palms are sweaty, arms is ready, right? Mom Spaghetti, are you ready to, I feel like you being a driver, you're like, you don't like being a passenger, and you don't like being a judge or a commentator.
I do love watching it, but yeah, judging is definitely not for me. Respect to the guys that do it. They really put themselves out there, and they definitely try their best, but it's a seriously tough job, that's for sure.
Right on. All right, well, stick around. We're going to get your feedback here of our first head-to-head battle versus Dan Burkett and Jonathan Nerren. And Dan Burkett, earlier in practice, I talked with his spotter, a.k.a. his wife, Renee, and she says setups were running the same, but all of a sudden it just got slick, exactly kind of like Ryan Tuerck's scenario, and Alec Robbins, got into the nose of him. So I'm glad to see him back and buttoned up. Nerren, he got on the wall Friday and even today at practice earlier. So here we go. Dan Burkett loses a hood, popping off there as Burkett goes in, and there he goes into the bank once again. And here's the unfortunate circumstance. The hood popped off. That means that's going to be an incomplete, Ryan. I mean, no hoods, trunks, doors can open during battle. I mean, you got to imagine Nerren's like, holy cow, it looks like, you know, asteroids coming at him if he's in Star Wars. So Dan Burkett will finish this run, but unfortunately it was over as soon as that hood flew off. Bummer.
Yeah, and we did see that in St. Louis, right? With Odie Bakchis, we had that door fly open. So there's not going to be much of an analysis for James to take a look at here. But let's see when... And actually, it almost went right into Nerren's car about a split second after that. So that is a massive bummer there.
It hung on for a little bit, and then it flew off in Nerren's face.
You ever had that happen, James?
No, I haven't, thank God. But respect for Dan for still going for it. You know, he could have pulled out of the run totally, but he's putting on a show. And yeah, unlucky, that's for sure.
Don't ask Yoshihara about hood flying off. Don't ask him, but if you do, just remind him that it happened twice in one event. He has a sticker that faces him on his dash that says check hood pins. I don't know if he still runs that sticker, but yeah. So, hey, I asked, I don't know if you saw, but we had Robin Ishida on yesterday. We had Tanner Faust on Friday, but I got to ask you, your favorite Formula Drift course and your least favorite course?
Okay, favorite Formula Drift course, I would say Long Beach. It's just an absolute dream track to drive, amazing atmosphere, and it's where I got my first win, so always will have a special place in my heart. Least favorite, it's a tricky one because if I'm at a track, I'm happy. I have a really,
It's like, I get it. You can't pick your favorite kid, but you got that one that's just maybe a little more handsome or prettier. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, probably St. Louis. St. Louis for sure, actually, yeah.
Okay.
St. Louis.
All right, St. Louis. But you had, I mean, the St. Louis was the big, long track. I like the old setup, and I have the boss right next to me, so I can't say too much here, but
sure
I like that. All right, Ryan, we need to go back to that big, nasty, fast track that we had early when we first went back to St. Louis. And even I'm getting thumbs up from the judges. They won't mention names, Eggert, but, you know, I think you know, these drivers like a good, exciting track. So, I could see St. Louis being there, and I'm really surprised you say Long Beach because that is the least forgiving track. But I could see the soft spot because of your win.
Yeah, it's an amazing track. You know, it's risk or reward as well. It's like playing pinball with all the walls around you. Every corner is blind from inside the car, but when you pull it off there and tag every wall, it's absolutely just the best buzz you can have in a car, that's for sure.
I can tell you a James Deane story that he probably doesn't know that I know, but a lot of other people do. The very first year that we switched over to the new track at St. Louis, how I know that it seems like it would be the least favorite track for James Deane. The very first practice run that he did was basically a 100-point qualifying run. I was standing next to Kevin and a couple of our other staff members, and no practice, no warm-ups, no nothing. Him and Peter went out, and I remember seeing James first and basically nailed it in exactly the way that you would want to drive that course, and everybody's like, that's a 100-point qualifying run.
That's funny. Well, James, you're getting a lot of love from the fans here. Again, we'll finish out the second half of this battle, and again, you've created quite a fan base all across the globe. Again, grabbing that FD championship 3 times in a row, the first ever 3-time in a row. Only better, you know, second to or your top man, Chris Forsberg. But here we go. Jonathan Nerren, Dan Burkett. Nerren initiates into the bank. A big deficit here for Dan Burkett as Nerren jumps on that bank. Let's see how he handles this front clip. Quick little transition. The judges didn't want it, you know, they don't want it quick. They want it styly. They want good momentum. Here we go as Nerren comes out of that second outside zone and tightens up to the front clip. Nerren, oh boy, that got a little sketchy there on that transition as well and into that final outside zone. So Burkett with that losing of the hood, that is definitely going to be a deficit for him, and I think Nerren just played strategy, gets the clean air. James, what in particular did you like about this run? Again, Nerren and Burkett.
Yeah, it was quite enjoyable. I think he's struggling in the lead position a little bit. He seems to be fighting the car, so he was like in and out of the zone a bit, and Dan was kind of trying to chase his line, so a little bit of a tricky battle. His car definitely looks quick, but yeah, it's definitely going to go to Nerren from the first issue Dan had with the hood, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. The ball is definitely in Nerren's court. You can see Dan getting lost a little bit in the smoke there, and as you said, Jared, really overshooting that inside clip. You know, pointing to what James said about fighting the car, is able to kind of get it back together here and hit that final and third outside zone, but unfortunately, with the hood popping up in competition from Burkett, he really needed Nerren to incomplete on his lead run, and we just don't see that here.
And James, I'm seeing local time in Ireland, 9:48 p.m. So are you going to stick around and tie one on and watch this thing all the way till the end to find out who's champion?
Absolutely, 100%. I'm on LA time all week just watching the live stream, so it's good.
You're acclimating to the Pacific Standard Time. All right, let's make it official. Slide him left for Rad Dan or right for Jonathan Nerren from North Carolina. Jonathan Nerren enters in a top 16 competition. It is unanimous. So unfortunately for Dan Burkett, that hood flying off. There goes his weekend flying off as well. Ryan, any closing words here with James?
James, really appreciate you taking the time to come say a word with us. You know, we're looking forward to seeing you back in the future. Stay safe out there. I know it's crazy, and come 21, hopefully we'll be able to make some more memories with you.
Looking forward to it. Bring it on, guys, and enjoy the night. We'll see you guys soon.
Hey, real quick, James, say hi to your mom and dad and your whole family, and love your family so much. So thank you so much, and say hello to your lady as well.
Pleasure. They're all watching. Take care, guys.
Right on. Peace. Thank you so much. James the Machine Deane, 2017, 18, and 19. 3 years in a row, joining us here live from Ireland. So we see our first winner here, and we are seeing Freddie. the Norwegian Hammer and his team thrashing to get the car back together. Again, if you can't recall from Friday night, he gets the win, does a celebratory burnout, pops the engine. They get the engine in replaced. Last night, does a burnout, not rod knock. He was watching from up top in practice. This is going to be his first run in battle when he goes to battle on the right side of the bracket. Right now, up next, Chelsea Denofa and Farouk Kugay. Now, Chelsea Denofa, we saw him progress through the evening on Friday night. Looked good, looked strong. Again, him and Vaughn Gittin Jr. went against each other. Farouk went against the wall, and he took a hard hit. Said one of the most hardest hits he's taken. He's running 35 pounds of boost. He's running for that magic number of 1,000 horsepower. He says it's the wildest car he's ever driven. So here we go. Chelsea Denofa and Farouk Kugay. All right, Denofa initiates a big gap there quickly. You can see Denofa sliding into the outside zone. Massive angle there from Chelsea Denofa. Farouk, middle of the bank. Let's see if he can catch him here on the inner bank, past that front clip. Good angle there from Chelsea Denofa. Again, the judges really pointed that out on that transition. Want to see the angle, not just the quick shimmy through that front clip. Ooh, Chelsea Denofa checking up maybe a little bit, but we talked about the accel and decel zones. That was a decel zone entering into that final outside zone. Farouk Kugay, unfortunately, not part of the equation here with Chelsea out front.
Yeah, I don't think the challenging part of this battle is going to be the lead run for Denofa. We know that he's got those on lock. It's really going to be about monitoring his approach on the chase run, but let's take a look to see what happened here. A big gap established. Denofa mid-high line on the bank, comes off right at the end, transitions through inside clip number 1. Kind of a little bit lower than you'd like to see him on his lead run in outside zone number 2. Farouk trying to gain some of that distance back. And as they switch into this final outside zone, Denofa, pretty good job there to finish it up, as Farouk now will have his opportunity to go to the lead, and Denofa chasing him down. You have to imagine that Denofa is going to employ some strategy here, try not to put himself in a position where a mistake is made. And we haven't seen Farouk a lot out on track this weekend, so there's a little bit of a variable there that we are unaware of.
Yeah, I'm sure he has some reservations just committing to it, initiating. He's driven with him before, Farouk and Chelsea, but here goes Farouk out front. Like you said, one of the wildest cars ever driven. He's low on the bank right now. He's working it up. You can see him shimming his way up top. And now past that front clip, let's see if Farouk can put something together here. Now down in that inner bank. You can see just dipping that back right toe in, talking about that back right exit tire, now coming into that front clip. You know, you got to think about this track. Almost has glimmers with that hook there. It almost reminds me a little bit of Seattle too, because you really got to bring all of it. You got the bank, you got this kind of power alley, which is essentially that front clip, and then going into that second bank, it's kind of a sweeper, and then boom, of course you wrap it up. Here we go. Let's take a look at it again.
Well, Farouk, nice little initiation there, but unfortunately it puts him on a much lower line. Denofa eyes it quickly. He gave some space that allowed him to make an attack here that wasn't going to put him in a compromising position. Just kind of backing off a little bit, giving a little bit of room. We know that Denofa had a pretty solid lead run. Farouk trying to match that, but Denofa is keeping the pressure on enough, I think, to give him the nod here without too much of an argument from any one of the judges. Through this final section here, we see Denofa getting much closer here to cap off this run against Farouk as they go to the finish line.
Scores are in. Let's slide them left for Denofa, right for Farouk Kugay, and there it is. Chelsea Denofa will get the win. Thank you so much, Farouk, for all your contributions in the 2020 season. We'll see you in the pits. Farouk Kugay in that SGK S14.
So Denofa, the second of the top contenders to make it into the top 16, moves from 412 points to 444, which puts him right below Frederick Osbo, who's got 448. So we're going to see things move around as these championship scenarios start to become more apparent. But of course, our eyes are really on whether or not Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Frederick Osbo would meet in the top 16. And Jared, of course, we really don't know too much about Frederick Osbo's vehicle at this point, other than that it's on the hot pit, which I assume means it's in workable condition. And for Papadakis Racing, I think that anything less than 100% would be a fail. So I expect the car will be the condition that Osbo needs, but we just don't know for sure.
And Osbo's got 5 battles and 3 bye runs, so 8 total kind of runs on track before we see him in competition. And right before that battle will be Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Mohan. Osbo goes against Ryan Litteral, who's a very aggressive driver too. So here we go, moving on to our next battle. Who is Denofa going to go against? One of these gentlemen, Michael Essa and Rome Charpentier. So Michael Essa, we saw him on the box. He got second place. It was great to see him back up there in the FCP Euro, Litteral Moly, Achilles tires. He had an engine swap as well. Again, taking it all the way to the podium, but he says he had a zip tie. The radiator cap thing was overheating, but now, man, he's not overheating. He's overheating those tires, those Achilles tires, as Rome Charpentier, that garagistic E36, now coming into that inner bend. Look at Rome sweating. Oh, just as we change camera angles there, I'm looking at, again, just the production here, not with my naked eye, so we'll need to play that back and see. I assume there was potentially some contact there because Rome was coming in hot on the door of Michael Essa. Ryan.
Yeah, he certainly was, and you love to see that aggressive driving, especially in the chase position, to try to capture some of that space between you and the lead car. But obviously something went wrong there. Rome went 4 tires off course and on the inside of inside clip number 2. Let's get a look at it from the start here in the sky. Nice little jump there by Michael Essa. High line on the bank, comes off at the right time, but Rome is kind of sweating him here, giving him a lot of pressure through inside clip 1. Here comes the surge, and right there where it looks like he touches him a little bit, has to back off, and once he does that, he's on the wrong line. So looks like a bit of a mistake there from Rome, just coming up too aggressively. We saw that from a couple of drivers, and we know that from inside clip 1 to outside zone 2, in that area where drivers are decelling and setting themselves up for that outside zone, a lot of action takes place there.
All right. And there's Stefan Papadakis, pretty elated seeing that thing do a burnout. Those guys are just celebrating it running. So it gives you any idea of just the stress that those guys have endured. All right, so tell everybody we are live. Hashtag FDIRW, tag again at Formula D, tag myself, Ryan Sage, and let's keep it going here.
Well, we're definitely going to, get a conclusion to this battle, but it's going to really come down, I think, to that first run there. At least it's going to be a major part of the equation here, because that is that decel zone. I wanted to see whether or not Michael Essa was back on throttle on time, and that could be a definitely contributing factor to the way that the judges go. But let's see the second half of this battle here and find out who's going to be moving on into the top 16.
Rome Charpentier will be leading, Michael Essa giving chase. Here we go with a second run of this top 32. We are in the NOS Energy Drink Top 32, the official energy drink of Formula Drift. Rome Charpentier coming out. Look at that quickly. You can see that flick right in front of Michael Essa. Rome high on the bank. Michael Essa actually surprisingly a little bit lower and reinitiates on the bank. Might have gotten thrown off there by Rome, but Rome going through the paces, filling that outside bank. Is this strategy by Michael Essa? Is he experiencing maybe some issues again? Doesn't look like Michael Essa that we saw the other night taking it to the top, but we'll have to take a look at it again. Did Rome throw him off somehow, or was that just independent that Michael Essa was doing the chase? Hey, we got the AEM Virtual Fan Zone back in the building. AEM, thank you to AEM for their support. And of course, AEM dry flow air filters are track proven, winning more FD championships than any other air filter brand. If you're looking for a proven horsepower increase for your car, check out AEMintakes.com.
Yeah, I think it's really going to come down to that first run, Jared. I want to see the first run again and whether or not Michael Essa was back on throttle once the decel zone ended. Because the second run here, as you said, it wasn't maybe the 100% that we saw from Michael Essa on Friday night. He had a moment right there coming off the bank where he was pretty close in proximity, but you can see right here, a bit of a lower line. Rome does look like the car is really cooperating with him. Does a great job passing through there with fluidity on inside clip number 2. And on this outside zone number 3, right at the edge there. Beautiful smoke line right on that white line through the finish line. So nice lead run there by Rome Charpentier.
And just a reminder, those red candlestick cones, basically that is considered the edge of the track. There is a white line, and the judges do know that they did stripe it, but eventually it will just decrease in vision. Here's the BC Racing custom coilover side-by-side instant replay run.
Let's keep an eye on Michael Essa in the lead, because like I said, I think it's really going to come down to whether or not he was back on throttle after the decel zone. Now, decel, he should be back on throttle right now, and then that's where the contact hits. So it's pretty close, but I think Michael Essa was back on throttle at the appropriate time. And I'm almost sure that the judges were looking at that side by side in giving their calculations here to try and figure out who's going to move on into the top 16.
I feel like Kenny Loggins here. I went into the outside zone, the danger zone. And there are the pylons I'm talking about. So you can see the white stripe, but just the more the shredders go across it, that just definitely dissipates. So the judges are saying, don't hit the red cones. Treat that as if a wall. So the deeper you are, the more damage you do to your vehicle. So if you nick it with your back, left bumper and just kind of knocks over, unless you punt it with the side of your car, that's a totally different story.
If you nick it with your back, it's going to be?
I don't know, Nickelback.
Fine?
It's fine. I don't know. I thought it was a Nickelback quote. I know you're a huge fan, so I just want to make sure. Nick back. All right. Nick Novak was last night. Nickel Novak. All right. So here's a replay here with Rome, Charpentier, and Essa. And here's a look at the big bank there. Rome, like you said, I like what you said about the car and the vehicle seems to be cooperating with Rome. Set it and forget it. You can see those front tires. Minimal corrections from Rome. Boy. Definitely a great spirit in the paddock and the pits. Rome Charpentier had an opportunity to hang with him at Grid Life in New Orleans just a few weeks ago. Rapping out with him about his program. And okay, and here we go. Slide him left for Essa, slide him right for Rome, and there's a one more time from Chris Yule. And Ryan Lontaine says Michael Essa. Eggert says Michael Essa. So we'll wrap out with the judges here, or just Ryan Lontaine in particular. Ryan Lontaine, again, it was majority rules to Michael Essa. He got the victory, and both you and Eggert chose him.
Yeah, Eggert and I saw the big mistake that Rome made in the chase position going into outside zone 2. Clearly dove in there and tried to get into proximity and got a little bit too close, and then was not able to get back on throttle there, maintaining momentum, and went 4 wheels off. And what Chris was looking at was what he felt like was a reinitiation by Mike Essa in the chase position on outside zone 1. Brian and I just saw it as a slight lapse in angle there for a second, but he just had a different view of that.
And so what Ryan was talking about, that decel zone going into the outside zone 1, you don't think Michael Essa deceled so much to throw Rome off? That was an aggressive move by Rome.
Yeah, it looked like Rome. Well, Rome knows that he needs to throw a lot of proximity at Essa, and that's an important area where you can do that. And it just looked like he kind of overcooked it a little bit in our view.
Okay, right on. Thank you for your insight there, Ryan Lontaine. Speaking on behalf of our judges, Chris Yule, Brian Eggert, and our lone Canadian judge, Ryan Lontaine. All right. As we move on to our next battle, so Essa will be going against Denofa in that top 16. And right now, there's a full pole Taylor Hole from Georgia, that Comp Cam's Achilles tire Cadillac ATS-V. Some Lip Holley as well. And Taylor Hole, let's listen to the caddy of full pole Taylor Hole. All right, make some noise there, the AEM Virtual Fan Zone. Make some noise for Taylor Hole. How are we doing? Seeing some familiar faces here joining us once again. And it's great. It's great to see our fans digitally. Look at Kemp's even pumped there on the FD Master Control. See Chris from AEM. Thank you for joining us. Brian, where's the puppet at, bro? Oh, we got we got drift fans of all ages. We got Zaquan. I apologize if I butchered your name there. It's really tiny text. But overall, the fans getting hyped, having fun. Ryan, the AEM Virtual Fan Zone.
I love it. Yeah, it's great. And it sounds like we got some Taylor Hole fans out there. It's worth noting that right now, after the tremendous year that he's had, he is sitting number 10 in points. So that is a massive accomplishment for Taylor Hole. 272 points coming into this round. Just captured another 16, so that's going to put him at 304 points. That will put him really close to Kazuya Taguchi. And he might move up a spot. We'll see what happens to Gushi. So breaking into the top 10 and looking strong here in the 2020 season is Taylor Hull.
Hanging out there with Justin Pollack, and you can see Ryan Litteral hanging out there on the wall at the start line. We're going to see Pollack later on, his third to last battle, and Ryan Litteral currently has responsibility maybe for Tuerck and Gittin, because he's going against Frederick Osbo in that freshly put together Toyota Supra. Moving next, we got Deane Kearney going against the dozer, Dylan Hughes. All right, so in the NOS Energy Drink Top 32, the official energy drink of Formula Drift. Deane Kearney, Dylan Hughes. You see the numbers. Deane Kearney, if you can recall, he lost the tire on Friday night. Remember that? And his wheel, Lorette Nickel had a great photo of that thing. When you lose the rubber, it creates sharp edges. That thing was beat up, but I'm glad to see him back out here. And unfortunately, nope, not back out here. The Oracle Lighting Achilles Tire Dodge Viper has called a competition timeout. So the comp timeout is called. The NGK competition timeout, that is. Once he gets back to the pits, gets hands on the car, that is a 5-minute allotment to get his vehicle back up and running. Not necessarily to the line, but get it completed on the ground with all the tires and lugs on. Speaking of NGK, do spark plugs time out? They sure do, and timely spark plug replacement not only prevents fouling and provides the best engine performance, it ensures less repair time and can save you money on unnecessary repairs. Visit ngksparkplugs.com to learn more about OE suggested spark plug intervals and find the best plug for your engines. NGK, the ignition specialist. Take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue the party here in Top 32. This is the Type S title fight triple header weekend. A champion will be crowned here tonight under the lights at the House of Drift.
is a machine with 800 horses coursing through its veins. Ignited. NOS Energy, human horsepower.
What takes me to my happy place is actually adding a bottle of Royal Purple Max Boost every time I fill up my tank, and literally feeling the difference it makes with my engine. It's like putting on your favorite pair of socks. What a coincidence. Now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, when you buy a bottle of Max Boost, Royal Purple is going to send you a pair of Royal Purple designer socks. Personally, this might be one of the best promos ever. Max Boost bumps up that octane number a legit 3 points, and the socks put some heat on your feet. How you doing, right?
The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenis RT660.
We're pumped to let you know about the Ford Performance Drift and Dirt Sweepstakes, where you can win your choice of a brand new 2021 Ford Super Duty Tremor, which is ready for work or outdoor adventure at any time.
Or a 480 horsepower, track-ready 2021 Ford Mustang Mach 1.
All you have to do is head to driftanddirt.com for your chance to win.
My name is Farouk Kawai.
Hey, I'm Justin Pollack.
My name is Josh Robinson.
Hey guys, Dylan Hughes, Formula Drift Pro 1 driver, and I drive Link.
I drive Link. I drive Link.
I drive Link.
Yeah, welcome back. Hey, if you didn't see it, have you seen those Lean custom pins, Formula Drift collab Lean pins? I'm getting a message from them. They say, yo, the Adam LZ, Castro, and Forsberg pins just dropped, and you can use promo code DRIFT20 to save some money. So, again, Lean Custom, find them on IG, buy the pins. Again, this whole season we've been doing some cool collabs. Here's the NGK competition timeout, and the clock is officially halfway through now. So, Deane Kearney, got to find out what's going on with his vehicle, Ryan.
Yeah, and this is a kind of a mysterious one because we didn't see this happen as a result of a run. Looked like he got to the line and something didn't feel right to him, pulled off the line. It's a bummer to use this in the top 32 because he very well may need it down the road. But before we get to that and find out what the conclusion there is, let's get to Kazuya Taguchi, who's got his bye run with the car not looking so hot.
No, unfortunately, this is what happened in practice. Great segue there. You can see him and whiz bang. Whew. So it goes in that right corner, or excuse me, the front right in that inner bank. But fortunately, I think it's a blessing for him. This is a bye run, so this allows him to kind of work out the kinks or put the kinks in his run, and just needs to make sure that his car is up and running, and he will continue on through the course. But Ryan,
Byron has had a couple instances this year of really hurting drivers in this battle, right? We saw Jeff Jones in Seattle, and we're seeing Kazuya Taguchi here. Luckily, Taguchi was able to get his vehicle operational because all that Formula Drift requires for a bye run is that the vehicle is in working condition to leave the line. And so he did that. Obviously, if he was competing against somebody, he would have been at a pretty sizable disadvantage there and possibly making a big mistake. But now let's turn our attention back to Deane Kearney. 57 seconds on the clock. Jared timing down. Doesn't seem like he has too much stress on his face right now, but we are getting close to timeout here. There we go.
Okay, so I am getting some word. I'm getting some messages here from Lorette Nichols. She's down in the pits, and she says that the motor keeps cutting out. Thought it was a fuel problem. They still are not sure, but now putting on the hood, that's a good sign. But the problem is, hopefully the problem doesn't persist as the team is buttoning it up here. Oracle Lighting, Dodge Viper, Keeley's Tires, operated here by ArcLight Racing. If you remember the TV star, Aaron Kaufman, that is his shop, so he's been operating his vehicle this year. As we'll continue, and we'll go back to the Dylan Hughes battle, but right now it is Jeff Jones and Wataru Masuyama. Masuyama going for that FD Rookie of the Year in that Buy More Japan S15. But man, I tell you what, Jeff Jones, best finish, top 4 earlier in Texas. I mean, he's had a great year. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do and put together for a 2021 program with that Doc Edelbrock Nissan 370Z. And of course, I think Masuyama learned a lot this year. You know, I believe that mathematically LZ is going to lock up Rookie of the Year, just given all the scenarios, how well he drove on Friday in a borrowed car, and now here he is back behind the wheel of his S15 that has gained a lot of popularity. But Rookie of the Year up for grabs. Still, it won't be official till the event is over, but Jeff Jones putting down some phenomenal runs throughout the year.
Yeah, he really has, and I think more than anything, we've seen his driving really come online in his preparation, but he has been such an entertainer in all of this in a really positive way and making a lot of people smile, and that deserves some credit.
That's good. All right, looks like we will get a restart here. We're seeing and a cone was hit there by Jeff Jones. Now, a reminder, the chase car can leave the start line in order to pace with that lead car. The chicane instituted many moons ago to just pair up the car so it's not a drag race from the start. You do see that horsepower disparity, or the difference, I should say, either overpowered, underpowered, regardless. Just want to see them go wheel to wheel, door to door on initiation. And that's the ideal scenario, but not always the case, because you do, again, have quite a difference sometimes in these vehicles. Jeff Jones back to the line. CPR Racing Engines, Edelbrock, Doc, see Top One Oil, running on some GT radials. Necks and tires underneath the vehicle of Masuyama. See if Jeff Jones can continue his success or Masuyama make it in the top 16 here at the House of Drift. All right, we got a clear start. Jeff Jones initiates. He's had a lot of turn and burns here at this track. Masuyama making his debut. Jeff Jones and Masuyama hanging out in that smoke trail. Good transition angle past that front clip from both the drivers. Getting that second outside zone as Jeff Jones. Masuyama taking a shallower line right on that front clip. On the inside clip is Jeff Jones now coming into that last outside zone. And there it is. You can see it right in between that white line and those pylons, the candlesticks, as Masuyama almost goes in the back of Mr. Jones.
So Jeff Jones and Wataru Masuyama doing battle here in the top 32. Good little flick there by Jones. Midline on the bank, trying to pull a gap here on Masuyama, who's eyeing him up. Masuyama a bit higher there, but you can see Jones has some good angle as he comes off that first outside zone, but he could have been a little bit deeper up against the wall. Through the inside clip, great use of the decel zone there. Back on throttle right as the outside zone starts. Masuyama still being gapped a little bit here, trying to close the door, taking that tighter line to bring down the distance between him and Jones. Jones smoothly getting through inside clip number 1, pushing really hard into outside zone 3. And look at that rear left tire right on the edge of the line there. Good execution from Jones as Masuyama was lost in the smoke line for a second. Let's take another look at it again here. Nice smooth arc through inside clip number 1, and great use of angle to slow the car down and then get back on throttle as Masuyama tries to close the door here towards the end.
All right, Masuyama now will lead as Jeff Jones gives chase. Deane family in the building. What is up? Jason, Nicole, Stephanie, Davis, Ash, Ava, Parker, Tyson. All right. Here we go. Masuyama ready to leave the line. Jeff Jones going to be nipping at his heels. Clean start. Nobody hit a cone. And Masuyama initiates. So almost a role reversal here. Masuyama higher on the bank. Jeff Jones wavering, but does work his way higher. Now let's see how they handle that inside clip number 1 at the traditional start go. No problem for Masuyama. Jeff Jones. Again, this is almost a role reversal, Ryan, here. As Masuyama comes off of that outside zone a little early, hanging it out quite long there into that decel zone and now into that last outside zone. Masuyama taking some angle out of it. That was a solid battle here, head-to-head, Jones and Masuyama.
Yeah, Masuyama did some pretty positive things in his lead run, one of which was getting a nice early initiation, starting at that mid-line, but then working higher on the big bank before he comes off, really accelerates through that inside clip. Didn't slow down too much, and the judges really don't want to see that. We want to see a nice, smooth flow through inside clip number 1. Jones trying to get in the pocket here to keep the pressure on, but he's on a slightly lower line here as Masuyama was deep for a second. However, as you said, Jared, he did come off a little bit early, then pressing into inside clip number 2. Jones taking advantage of Masuyama going a little bit wide there off inside clip number 1, trying to get as close as he can as they enter outside zone number 3. See right there, using the entire course as Masuyama. Jones is able to cut it down a little bit. But as they get through the finish line, a tiny bit of separation there. Close battle between these two competitors. Tough job for the judges here as both wait on the line here to find out who's going to move on into the top 16.
All right, what are the fans thinking? AEM Virtual Fan Zone, Jeff Jones fans, Masuyama. We got a warlord joining us. Thank you for tuning in here, Cosmic Coatings. And we got a dog. We got somebody's dog just chilling, bro. Just hanging out. Oh, there's a little Brian Young, little baby Young, B Young Jr.
Yeah, intuitively, just watching the battle naked, I didn't really come away with, oh yeah, that's a winner. I think Masuyama had some areas in his lead where he performed better than Jones. And as we take a look a second time around here, does it become more apparent? Is there a way for one or all of the judges to put that needle in the direction of driver A or driver B, or is this just too close to call here? A good back and forth battle between these two competitors with a lot on the line. Jeff Jones right now sitting in 14th place in the championship. Masuyama 21st, trying to close as much of the season, the 2020 season, as close as they can to that top 10 top 16 in points.
Touch on Rookie of the Year real quick while you have the stats up, or the point standings.
Yeah, he's way outside. Adam LZ has 256 points. Masuyama's got 144, so he can't make that up. So, like
and
you said,
Nerren's not part of that equation either, right? I mean, LZ is currently leading. Who's closest to him, and how many points?
Let's see here.
Real quick, we'll get the official verdict here. Masuyama gets Chris Yule's vote, and Ryan Lontaine says one more time. Brian Eggert says one more time. So they're going at it again. Again, Masuyama and Jones. The fans are watching there. Ryan, finish your thought, if you will, on Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, the answer to your question is Nerren is the next closest. He's at 160 points, so still he's a bit too. He's right at the cusp because Adam LZ has 256 and Nerren has 160.
Okay, so I mean, basically, if LZ advances on from 32 to 16, I think that'd pretty much lock it up. LZ has another Rookie of the Year going against him, Alec Robbins, but Robbins missed all of Texas, both of those doubleheaders, due to, again, having COVID, but now he's clear. So, all right, you know what? Guess what? Lorette Nickel is with the Norwegian Hammer.
Freddie was just looking at the brackets, and Freddie, Steph Papadakis told me that basically you guys are trying to push this Supra as hard as you can. What were some of the updates, the changes that you guys were making?
Well, we blew the motor doing the burnouts on Friday just as the event was done. And Steph spent all day yesterday building another copy of the motor we have in, which is an experimental motor for Irwindale, making more power. Put that in this morning, go to do a burnout in the burnout box, and I get rod knock immediately. So now Steph and the boys have done a fantastic effort piecing together a third motor with the head from this morning's motor and our other spare block. So right now it's Hail Mary time. We're just going to send it, and we'll see what happens.
Frederick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jared?
Hail Mary time. That doesn't elicit the most confidence from me, I think. Do you think that he's saying that in jest, or is it really Hail Mary, like we're crossing our fingers that this engine's going to hold?
He only hit the burnout box, right? So he could leave the line and something else could happen. Again, it's not the $10,000 part usually. I mean, yes, rod knock, that is an expensive part, but the whole engine, but usually the 10-cent part versus the $10,000 part, right? And I do give him some credit using the term Hail Mary because it's traditional football, and I don't take him as a traditional American football fan.
Big skin guy.
Being from Norway, right?
Well, big news here on the line, Jared.
Oh, man. Gutted for Deane Kearney. He had to retire, not finding the problem. But you know who's dope? Dylan Hughes, the dozer, in that gum-out Rain-X, the two-face livery here this weekend, O'Reilly Auto Parts. And look at that. Dylan Hughes, the dozer, puts it down, and this is a good opportunity for him. You know, I know he's had some gremlins throughout this year, but when he's on that car, he loves it. I mean, this is one of the wildest vehicles he's ever built. It went from somebody's mom's car, a friend of his mom sold it to him, and now here it is shredding, 1,000 horsepower, 2J under the hood with the two-face. We'll see if he plays villain, see if he plays hero with that Gum-Out 75th anniversary livery there. Again, Gum-Out celebrating 75 years, putting vehicles into war, being utilized in World War II. Gum-Out and that 75th anniversary livery on the left side, the driver's side of Dylan's vehicle. 2 parts cleaner that pack a punch. Learn how in 75 years of keeping engines clean. Gum-Out, Jet Spray, and Regain parts cleaner degreaser works the best for any job you have in the shop. All right. Now we are not officially halfway through, but right now this is Chris Forsberg with his buy run. So I think he got gifted this. He had a buy run on Friday, and just the way the chip is drawn, Osbo pulled the chip, and the way it fell, we had 5 total buy runs here on round 8. And Chris Forsberg, because of where he's at, he gets a buy run. Here we go. The NOS energy drink, Nissan S14. I'm so used to saying 370Z, the S14. Now, again, this was a vehicle that he got the keys from Matt Field, and this has an LS supercharged and a gang of nitrous. We'll see how he hangs when he goes head-to-head, and the potentiality of who he'll go against, Bakchis or Jonathan Castro.
Well, this is the first kind of public look that us and the fans are getting as Chris runs through the finish line here. Not too shabby. You don't know how much he's putting into it there, but obviously a very competitive vehicle in the past. You know, the question is going to be, you know, can it win an event? You know, can it get him what he wants, which it sounds like trying to break into that top 3, which is certainly possible. And these are our winners so far this year. And you see it's those contenders, right? These are the guys that have been in the mix. Osbo finishing up the most recent round with the win, starting off the season. And today it's an open question. Who's it going to be and who's going to take that big trophy at the end of the night?
We'll find out as we continue here in Top 32. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue the action here at the Type S title fight here at round 8 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship.
Link ECU produces standalone engine management technology with a range of products that allow you to unleash the power of your engine. Acting as your car's brain, Link ECUs control electronic fuel injection and ignition. A magnitude of sensor inputs and outputs ensure your engine exceeds your expectations. Built-in safety features guarantee engine protection, and data logs keep you informed on its performance. Smoke your tires, not your engine, with a world-leading Link ECU.
The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast's choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenis RT660.
Holley's biggest sale of the year is here, November 20th through the 30th. Holley Days will feature daily deals and up to 20% off hot products. There's only one way to find out about the daily deals, and that's to visit Holley.com. Shop great brands such as MSD, B&M, Hooker, Mr. Gasket, and more. Holley's biggest sale of the year is here, November 20th through the 30th. Holley.com.
Honestly, I think the Achilles 123S is the best tire for drifting. It's just so consistent. There's so much grip.
I love being on Achilles. It is incredible. The tire is incredible.
It's the best tire that I've ever used. Tons of grip. It's just so consistent, precise, very predictable.
Having a tire that's consistent all the way through from when it's cold to when it's roasting hot is very important.
I really wouldn't want to be on any other tire.
Welcome back here as we continue the action at round 8 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship AM Virtual Fan Zone. Hey, I want you guys to hold up, get a piece of paper and a pen and write down who you think gets the win. So we, again, want you guys to write down. Yeah, get whiteboards, get paper, get pen. I mean, do what you got to do to, there you go, seeing Osbo in there. This guy's in driver's ed? Okay, all right, third one. Solid. All right, and again, see Brian Young Jr. over there. Hey, there he is. There's Brian Young Jr. That's his big LS back there. He's got the Drift Raf hat on. Again, shout out to Nick and the Dijon Bros. Oh wow, look at this guy's he's got a party with his Subaru lights going off back there. That's solid. Rob C looks like he's working on his vehicle and watching, so that's awesome. Again, I had my boy Mario G. He's actually tattooing homeboy right now. He's in Ohio. Mario G, shout out to you. And yeah, awesome. So yeah, man. Actually, I think I tagged the wrong guy. My bad. All right, the original Mario Johnson. Yeah, I definitely tagged the wrong guy, but regardless. All right, this is back to the second half of this battle. And this is Jones and Masuyama. Or excuse me, the one more time of this battle, because it was too close to call. It was a 2-1. So Jones and Masuyama. We talked about how great Jones has been driving this year. Masuyama, I think, just, you know, with his debut into the Formula Drift Pro Championship, it's a whole totally different beast. I mean, Ryan, we've been over to Japan. We've seen a lot of drifting in our time. FD Japan versus FD US. I mean, you know, there's continuity, but there's also a lot of differences.
Same, but different.
Okay. All right. In what way does stand out to you?
No, I'm like half joking, but yeah, I mean, there's a different driving style. The courses are different. There's a couple that I think are very like FD-esque, like Ogayama.
Yeah. Ogayama. Yep.
Is a little bit more FD style, longer, faster, but
US, yeah. Okay.
Here we go.
Thank you. Sorry. Here we go. Jeff Jones will be leading Masuyama in that chase position. Whoa! Look at that. Nice job by Jones and Masuyama. You saw him try to surge, throw it to the side, but has to back off. So that could end up hurting him if he doesn't put it together here on the second half of this run. But Jones consistent. Look at that. Into that last outside zone. And this is what we've been talking about. Jeff Jones just stepping up as just a really dynamic, consistent driver. Consistency is key. Again, we talked about Forsberg grabbing that championship without winning an event. It's all about consistency, making sure your car stays together. Ryan.
Well, I love this surging attack here, but you can see that from the setup on that attack, he made a little bit of a flub, and then we're seeing that once he goes in for it, he kind of makes an adjustment there, and then he's got to back off, and he really draws a much lower line. So with Jeff Jones being on throttle there, that looks like that was just a mistake from Masuyama, an aggressive mistake, but one that he's going to pay a bit of a price for. Now Jones, as he enters that second outside zone, is on a mid-high line there, so he's doing a pretty good job as the lead driver and fulfilling those responsibilities. Very close to that inside clip. Masuyama washes out a little bit, comes charging through the smoke line, but Jones is already set up for that final outside zone and gets through the finish line without Masuyama really in close proximity. So now Masuyama's got some work to do here as he will take the lead against Jeff Jones.
All right, here we go. Masuyama out front. Jones in that chase position. We are officially halfway through because Forsberg completed his bye run. This was to be our 8th battle. And Masuyama throws it down high on the bank, stepping up. Wow, look at that. And that's the Masuyama, Ryan, that you were talking about that we've seen in FD Japan. Nasty transition past that inside clip into the second outside zone, digging deep. Jeff Jones, maybe a little phased here. He's got to step up. Way wide on that outside zone is Jones, but Masuyama tightens it up, and that's what we're talking about, Ryan. This is going to be interesting here because once Masuyama got that, you know, the confidence and he got the clean air, he put it up on the wall.
Yeah, that was a great first half of the bank, maybe first a great 3 quarters. He does come off a little bit low though, or a little bit early rather. A big snap to initiation, nice and high on the bank. Look at Jones trying to make some ground here to stay on that line. There it is as he comes through this inside clip here. Big angle, but he pretty much keeps a lot, I would say the minimum necessary forward momentum in that section. Getting to outside zone 2, he got in there aggressively, but he came off a bit early. And as you said, Jones washed out, trying to keep pace. So Jones is kind of in the mix here a little bit. And as Masuyama had some really high moments in his run, but was that mistake in the chase position on the attack coming down, losing a lot of angle, coming off a line, is that going to be too much to overcome? The time will tell as the judges are ruminating here on this battle in the top 32.
All right, you can see back there warming up some tires. Looks like Jonathan Castro as Masuyama, Jeff Jones wait to see the outcome. Shout out Adam Jabe. What's up, Jabe? Tuning in. Tell all your friends to tune in. Hashtag FDIRW. Seeing a lot of fans tuning in, not just on, of course, that AEM virtual fan zone. Again, if you're watching the fan zone, get a piece of paper, get a whiteboard. We want to see you guys interact with us. Again, this is a no fan event here in the stands. It's definitely eerie, I guess is kind of the weird that comes to mind because this place is electric. Oh, here we go. Slide him left for Jones, right for Masuyama, and Jeff Jones gets the win. Ryan Lantagne going to you, my man. Masuyama stepped it up on that second run. Jones, I think, had a good job. He fell back a little bit there, but overall, you guys went with Jones.
Can you hear me? There we go.
Yes, we can.
It really came down to Masuyama's chase run. Unfortunately, he had too many mistakes on the bank outside zone 1 where he lost angle quite a bit. I wouldn't say he straightened, but he definitely had some areas there where he had low angle and his line was really poor. Unfortunately, that was offsetting the amazing lead run that he did through the same sector, but just couldn't give it to Masuyama based on the amount of mistakes he made in the chase position.
Yeah, all right. So as we are getting, thank you, Ryan Lantagne, as we are officially more than halfway through, you can see right there, Tuerck will go against Nerren, Denofa versus Essa, Hull versus Hughes, Kazuya Taguchi versus Jones, and Chris Forsberg waits to see who he's going against. Because right now at the line, Jonathan Castro and Odi Bakchis. All right, so Castro and Odi are at the line. Had a chance and opportunity to talk to Odi. He says just the trans, man, just that's the problem on Friday. He went against Dan Burkett and had some issues. Jonathan Castro, would love to see him step up. Again, one of the most electric runs ever in FD history. As Castro, high on the bank, there's Odi, mimicking him with that angle and on the bank. Jonathan Castro coming down to Bordeaux, Methodon, Toyota racing, Toyota 86 now into that inner bank. We're only in top 32 and you're already seeing gangster runs like this. Wow, look at Odi just lunge to the side of that. Oh, wow, the Falcon tires, S15, now transitioning back into that outside zone. Ryan, this is a great run from both of these stallions.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what you love to see, especially in the top 32 between two competitors here, veterans of the sport, initiating together early on. Odi dives right in. Jonathan Castro, nice and high on the bank. High marks for both drivers as Castro starts to pull a little bit of a gap on Odi coming off the bank, but Odi quickly gets right to him there on that inside clip. Surging forward, trying not to let Castro run away. Here he goes for the second attack as they leave inside clip number 1. Castro enters outside zone 2, nice and deep, but look at this, just half a car length here from Odi Bakchis as they wrap around that inside clip. Through the smoke line is Odi as Castro does a great job getting into that final outside zone, but Odi is right with them. That was a beautiful run, both lead and chase driving there for Odi Bakchis and Jonathan Castro.
Ryan, what do you attribute just Odi's growth as a chase driver? We talked about it. You know, we've seen Osbo have some, but consistently, Odi is just, it's like the market. It just keeps going up and up.
Yeah, I think he is one of the guys that is just so in tune with what his car can do and just has a really strong natural ability to make things happen in the car, and then the confidence of knowing who he's driving against and when to push at the right time.
I like it. Thank you. Here we go. Odi Bakchis will lead. Jonathan Castro giving chase. Odi initiating going with Castro. Castro needs to mimic that angle. Look at, oh man, Castro, the Magic Man throws it to the side. Odi Bakchis, oh no, and just as I say that, announcer's curse sets in. He's taking that inside clip as a souvenir on home. There it goes, it falls off, unfortunately for Castro. If Odi keeps this consistent through the course, I think that's going to be, unfortunately, the end for Castro. Oh, the wrong side of that inside clip, Ryan. Bummer for Castro.
Yeah, and it was a marker that he carried with him through the second inside clip. It was a great chase run in terms of aggression and proximity, but you could see from that inside clip that unfortunately he just kind of made a little bit of a miscalculation there. Let's see what kind of led up to that, Jared. Odi Bakchis got a good jump. Look at Castro keeping the pressure on, trying to mimic that line, but as he transitions, he goes a little bit too far right and kind of center punches that. He actually makes it look pretty good, but the thing is that once he's back on line, he's actually much lower than Odi Bakchis. So he's got the proximity there, but he's on a line that you don't want to be on, and you can see he's carrying with him that cone as kind of a memento of that mistake. And so, like you said, unfortunately, what was an incredible chase run in terms of proximity just had a big fault there in terms of line.
There it is. Let's make it official. Slide him right for Odi Bakchis. Jonathan Castro knocked out, and the end of the season. Looking forward to 2021. All right, let's throw it down to Lorette Nickel. Lorette, what do you got?
Deane, Kearney, I talked to Aaron Kaufman. He said that you guys were potentially having a fuel problem. Now that the pressure's off, do you know what you were dealing with?
Yeah, we threw everything except the kitchen sink at it. We changed pumps, injectors, absolutely everything that we could think of. We're still experiencing fuel pressure issues. And I didn't want to be the guy to go out there and make Dylan's life difficult and the both of us end up in the wall. So I thought the smartest thing to do was park the car, honestly. And it sucks to finish out our season that way, but we get to go home with a car that's able to go on the trailer in one piece and regroup and focus on 21.
Deane, thank you so much.
No problem.
Jared, Ryan.
You know, Deane has had a lot of gremlins this year, you know, but he's had a great spirit. We had a good weekend in Seattle. We shared many adult beverages together and had great conversations just about life and just, you know, not all things racetrack. This is something they do, but it is who they are, and you know, it's more than that. All right, Ryan. A lot of pressure here for Kyle Mohan and, of course, for Vaughn Gittin Jr. Vaughn currently leading the points. We talked about the scenarios. Could Kyle Mohan play spoiler after missing the first half of the season, comes back in Texas? Here are the scenarios. Vaughn clinches the championship with a top 4 finish. Right now he's only in 32. Tuerck, we already seen him advance in the top 16. He could win the championship without Vaughn Gittin Jr. getting into the top 4. And then Frederick Osbo, you see right there in the top 16. So Vaughn Gittin Jr. will lead. You can see Purge in the nitrous out of that Monster Energy NATO Tire Ford Performance Mustang RTR Spec 5D. Notably, Vaughn Gittin Jr. with the doubleheader back-to-back wins in Seattle. And again, Kyle Mohan, the Mazda Tricks American Ethanol Mazda RX-8 from right here in Long Beach, California. Here comes Vaughn Gittin Jr. gapping him out of the gate. These RTRs, they got a lot of side bites, so they're not only fast on the straightaway, they're fast on the bank, and you can see that right there. Pulling away from the rotary, the lone rotary, the last starfighter, running the Wankles in Formula Drift. And there's Vaughn Gittin Jr. running the paces, but where it gets interesting, Ryan, is, again, Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Kyle Mohan having some competition against each other here in this 2020 condensed season.
Yeah, there's always a variable there in knowing exactly what the tendencies are of the driver that you're going against, especially as we switch things up. But as he said, Vaughn gets out to a good jump. Big gap there established by Vaughn against Kyle Mohan. Mohan smartly taking a lower line to try to gain back some of that distance that he lost on the big bank. Now coming into the inner bank here, Mohan did have an opportunity there to attack for a second, but he fell back and got lost in the smoke line. Getting through that inside clip. Good little flick back around to that final outside zone. Here comes Mohan towing up the rear end to get through this last section and cross through the finish line. But now Mohan will have a heavy burden here as he will go to the lead position. Vaughn Gittin Jr. needs to play it smart here. Every battle counts for the championship as we move on here at the Type S title fight.
All right, Brian Cass watching from home. Cheers, homeboy. Thanks for cranking some brews and watching some FD, ripping, shredding. Kyle Mohan will lead. Vaughn Gittin Jr. giving chase, pulling up to the line. Vaughn, what event was that where he kind of staggered his setup and he gave himself a little bit of run-up, which is completely allowed in that chase position? I'm trying to recall, which one was it? Was it, well, it was Wall. But I think he even did it in St. Louis and Seattle.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's completely allowed.
Yeah, to a degree, sorry. But he played it, so he towed the line. All right, so it looks like Vaughn Gittin Jr. letting Mohan, giving a little bit of rope there and slack, and Mohan throwing it down. Nice job by Mohan. Vaughn, this isn't just going to be an easy win. The Menace stepping up. Yo, look at that. Flirting with the wall. That was really tight, man. Almost scraping that wing on the wall. And there goes Mohan transitioning back into that last outside zone. And we have seen, oh, look at that. And again, he did hit those pylons, but imagine if that was a wall. That would have been basically just nicking it. A great lead run by Kyle Mohan. And, you know, what do you think? Did the needle go either way?
Mohan throwing everything at it. Nice little initiation there. Gittin smartly gives him a little bit of room on the initiation, not letting Kyle run away too much, trying to keep him close here after Vaughn's solid lead run. But then Mohan gets super close to the wall on that second outside zone, and Vaughn comes up a little bit short there, takes a tighter line into outside zone number 2. Mohan really pounding on the throttle through inside clip 1. Pushes a little bit wide, which lets Vaughn kind of nose in a little bit as they cross over through that finish line. And then, as you said, just going a little bit deep into that final outside zone, hitting some of those pylons. Here it is from the sky. You can see Vaughn was pretty aggressive on the bank. Mohan giving him a good lead run to challenge.
Whoa,
and then, right
man.
there, Mohan really committed on that second outside zone. Beautiful bit of driving there from Kyle Mohan. And here we go, the final turn. This is where Gittin takes a slightly tighter line there, but you can also see that Mohan got off course a little bit. So do the judges have enough to go for a winner here? Let's take a look.
Yeah, that was great vehicle awareness there by Vaughn Gittin Jr. Seeing Mohan go off, and he just sucked it up a little bit and kept it not going to those pylons. The AEM Virtual Fan Zone. You got paper there. You got whiteboards. Who do you? I'm seeing Vaughn. I'm seeing JR. Again, again, if you all talk at once, we can't hear any of you, so it sounds like white noise. So let's get some paper going and then get some cheer, and there it is. So Vaughn Gittin Jr. gets the win and continues for his effort of being a 2020 Formula Drift Pro Champion.
So current point standings right now, Jared, 524 for Vaughn Gittin Jr., 484 for Ryan Tuerck, 448 for Frederick Osbo, 444 for Chelsea Denofa, and 428 for Chris Forsberg. Obviously, we still have one driver left to go, and that's Frederick Osbo.
He's next.
So he could make up another 16 points there, and that would start to basically put them even or where they were going into this round, and all the work left to be done here at the title fight.
I actually do love that Vaughn and Aasbo will potentially go against each other. I say potentially because Ryan Litteral, I saw them working on their vehicle Friday into yesterday while Pro 2 was going on. They're here in the pits. So Frederick Aasbo, you know the name, former champ, been second overall 2017, 18, and 19. Now Ryan Litteral from Riverside, California, just down the freeway in that power stop brakes. Nissan 350Z. He's got a supercharged V8 under the hood. And Freddie, what's going through, what do you think is going through his mind here, Ryan?
How's the car going to run?
Yep.
And can I keep the momentum that I established on Friday? You know, I know the second part, he's obviously a highly confident driver, one of the best in the world. It's just that everything that I've gone through with basically 2 motors that had to be changed in a 48-hour period, one that just came literally probably a half an hour ago. How's the car holding up?
All right. Well, I know one of his favorite movies is Top Gun, and he's got to be like Iceman right now. Cool as ice, and Osbo taps the wall. He comes out of it. A big correction there, Ryan. So this is what we're talking about equipment. He only got one burnout box session prior to this battle, and here he is throwing it down that Rockstar Energy Drink Toyota GR Supra. Ryan Litteral applying some pressure. You saw him kind of get gapped there, but now he gained some momentum and gained some ground and some proximity. Oh man, want to take a look at this again, and we were kind of elaborating on, just mental awareness, what's going on with the equipment. Let's take a look at it.
I'll tell you what, the judges are going to be scrutinizing this because they're going to want to say whether or not that's an incomplete from Frederick Osbo. It's a beautiful save from Osbo, but let's keep an eye on the wheels. Does he lose drift, and does he have to regain it? I think it's pretty close to an incomplete. It looks like the wheels kind of counter steer here for a second. He's moving them back and forth, and now he's basically drifting again. I think it's going to be a really tough call for the judges to make, but I think it's probably going to be the right call because his wheels were moving around a lot, and there was some understeer there, and that is pretty much close to textbook definition incomplete.
Let's throw this word out there: chaseable lead run. You know, fortunately, Ryan Litteral was back, but unfortunately, he was far back if this was an aggressive run here. But fortunately, he was back because if he was chasing that in close proximity, came out of drift, you might have seen some contact if we were deeper into the competition and seeing the caliber driver. So right now, Frederick Osbo and his Toyota Supra are back in the pits and taking their NGK competition timeout, Ryan.
For sure, and I'm glad you raised that because it's a very important point that the judges sometimes will use that language, an unchaseable lead, to basically say if a chase driver was in proximity and you did that thing that we just saw, would have it affected the chase? And in that case, yes. But then we also have the secondary part, which is just on the basis of the criteria of losing drift and the tires going to zero angle or understeering and then having to basically reinitiate, that's also kind of a textbook definition of an incomplete. So I'm going to assume, for sake of conversation, that Osbo has an incomplete, no matter what happens on this competition timeout, which means that Ryan Litteral has a huge opportunity here to eliminate a championship contender in the top 32.
And he wants to just win. I mean, let's be honest, Ryan Litteral wants to win this thing. He knows he's not in the hunt, but this dark horse, giant killer, whatever term you want to call it, figure of speech, Frederick Osbo made the mistake independently. Ryan Litteral could just be gifted an advancement and also have that title, Dragon Slayer.
I don't want to jump too far ahead, but, even though the run is over from Ryan Litteral's standpoint after Osbo incompletes, because it's done by the lead driver, as we start thinking about some of the possible scenarios here, Frederick Osbo has that 448 points coming into this round. If he only locks in top 32 points, or he had 432, if he only locks in the top 32 points, he had 448. Guess who's got 444? Chelsea Denofa.
Ooh-wee.
So that means that there could be a switch from Denofa to Osbo going into the top 3 if Osbo is eliminated here. So there's a lot more on the line than just a championship. It's top 3 in points.
All right, so we are seeing Travis Reeder on the start line. Matt Sopa, our line starter here. Matt Sopa on the ropa as Travis Reeder in Old Red, the S13. He says, yeah, lay back and listen to Old Red. Turn it up there, Kemp. Let the fans hear what they want to hear. And there it is. Travis Reeder crosses the finish line, and that will be his bye run. He advances. Who's he's going to go against? It's either going to be one of the Falcon vehicles, one of two, that is Matt Field, or Justin Pollack. We have plenty of Falcon vehicles on course, and there you can see 3:40 left on the clock. And again, Papadakis working on many different vehicles, preparing, and then they have kind of their own crews. And we can see Aldo, who works on Jonathan Castro's team, part of the Papadakis team. And Freddie just waits. Right now, what's going through Freddie's head? He's got to be thinking about what went wrong, what can I do, how can I do it, and I'm going to throw it on a gangster run in that chase position behind Ryan Litteral.
It's hard to know what exact feelings and emotions are going through his head. Obviously, there has to be, in some sense, disappointment, but you don't know why that happened, if there was something wrong with the vehicle, if it was a driver mistake. We didn't find out till later, as we bring on Judge Ryan Lantain, about Ryan Tuerck last night. His was a driver mistake. And in this case, we don't know from Osbo whether or not that's the case.
Ryan, going to you.
Yeah, a little bit of insight here. Osbo hasn't driven this car since Friday night. And when he drove it last, the conditions were 100% different than what they are right now.
Right.
And then there was a whole competition yesterday, and now you're on a much hotter track. So I'm sure the track surface is nowhere near what he was used to. He did zero practice today because his car wasn't able to practice. So he's running with data that he probably had from Friday. And even though they ran maybe in warmer conditions, I think it's hotter today than it was Friday anyway.
It does.
He's running on 2 days without having driven that car, and he's in competition. Needs to throw that thing as hard as he can, because Litteral is not a driver that's going to give him any room, and he's got to push hard. So just pushed maybe a little bit too much. And, one of those things that if you don't push hard enough, sometimes you'll regret it. And if you push a little too hard, you can also regret it. But that fine line is so hard to walk when you've got no practice.
Yeah, the burnout box is not going to tell him much.
No, exactly.
All right, here we go. Moving on to our next battle. Travis Reeder will go against one of these teal and blue whips. We're looking at Matt Field, the Beast from the Bay, and that Falcon Tires, Pedal Commander, Drift Cave, Corvette, and of course JTP, originally from Michigan, now living here in Southern California, in the Falcon Tires, Roush Performance, Ford Mustang. Here we go, fellas. Teal and blue all over the track. That's Falcon Tire livery. Matt Field initiating, throwing it into the bank. JTP, you can see him Okay, inching closer with every turn and burn. Past that inside clip. Now into the inside zone. Yes, sir. Matt Field bringing it tight to that wall. But look at JTP sweating Field. Now coming into that last outside zone. Getting all the way out to those pylons, but not knocking them over. Just blowing out the candles. Not knocking over the actual candlestick. Well done by both of the Falcon rides.
Yeah, historically not a battle that you would expect to see in the top 32. Two big-time contenders here. Matt Field swinging down low, getting that initiation. Here comes Justin Pollack. Big smoke line now starting to develop for both drivers as they get through that bank. A nice angle off the bank from Field. Pollack through the smoke line and inside clip number 1. Transitioning into the inner bank. Pollack closing the door on Matt Field, but Matt going deep into outside zone number 2. Great job there. Good pressure by Pollack as they pass through inside clip number 2. And then the final setup here, wrapping around outside zone number 3.
Oh, 20 seconds left. And Laurent Nickel just told me their rear toe arm is what they're fixing. Okay, and you can see that. We are ratcheting. You can see that's oh man. Boom, drop it like it's hot, literally. Yo! Wow. Look at that, less than 5 seconds left. Hey, hats off to the whole crew and team. Look at that. That was close. So the question is, was it buttoned up? Was it prepared properly? Like Ryan said, you know, he had the burnout box, definitely different, you know, feedback and you know, all the insight that he got from Friday into this.
Man, crazy.
Yep. Irwindale, am I right? 2020, am I right? Here we go, JTP, Matt Field, Justin Pollack. Wow, look at that, up on the wall. Absolutely savage by JTP. Matt Field, front row and center in a clinic. Now into that inner zone, Field taking a shallower line. And Justin Pollack absolutely exchanging paint with both of the walls. Let's see how he handles this final outside zone. And here comes Matt Field gaining that proximity, and oh man.
Oh my gosh. Just on principle, I want to see that again.
Yo, that was sick. I mean, if that was a qualifying run, JTP would have scored. I mean, he's one of the few that has a 100-point perfect qualifying score.
Well, look at this. I mean, right at the get-go, he's up riding on the wall. I mean, that may have been the best outer bank that we've seen all weekend in competition. Beautifully executed. And Matt Field, not phased. He's on a little bit of a lower line as he comes on after inside clip number 1, but quickly realizes that he's got to get back. Now Justin, massive angle on outside zone number 2. Perfect on inside clip number 2. Through the smoke line is Field, and here comes Justin Pollack on that final outside zone. Beautiful lead run.
Wow, I really liked Justin Pollack out front. Like you said, he didn't seem phased until kind of the second inner bank, talking about Field. And you can see that very impressive chase run there, even by Field. But watch it coming in the inner bank. What I really like about Justin's run is we like the nasty flick, snappy transition, but he didn't do it here. And I think it paid off for him because it didn't need that X factor. You know, that was a nice fluid, not Pollack-esque, because again, it didn't need that.
Well, he still did things that maybe 5 people in the entire world can do, and that's ride the bank the entire time around, just very lightly rubbing your bumper on the wall without crashing, and being up in the tire marble.
Yeah, taking a look here, the fans, we got our Maximum Driftcast fans. Let's take a look at the BC Racing Custom Coilover side-by-side instant replay.
So, I mean, I think you have to say that Pollack probably has the better of the 2 lead runs. You know, is it going to come down to the chase? Where do we see any opportunity to show a point of differentiation, right? A point of difference between driver A and driver B. Did Pollack do enough in his chase run to push this one forward?
Yeah, and again, I think that the big thing here is that second outside zone. The second outside zone was the true indicator and the litmus test of, you know, lead versus lead, chase versus chase. That was a good one, man. That was a good battle.
Yeah, you never like to see anybody lose on the last day of the year, but the judges are coming in here quick.
Oh, we got a one more time from Ryan Lontaine, and Brian Egger says JTP. So you got JTP advancing on Matt Field, knocked out. Oh man, I'll tell you what, Ford Mustangs. It seems that again, Matt Field has gone against Vaughn Gittin Jr. a couple times. He went against Chelsea Denofa, now another Mustang. So, man, Frederick Osbo, again, he did make that time, but here he is. So Osbo warming up his Nitto tires, Ryan Litteral and his Power Stop GT Radial Nissan 350Z. That's how the current standings are coming into this round. This does not have anything to do with 32, where they're at, because we know Gittin's in, we know Tuerck is in, we know Forsberg's in, and Denofa. So 4 out of the 5. The only not in the Cinco de, I don't know what you call them, Cinco de Irwindale, Osbo.
Yeah, you know what, this is crazy. I just had like this thing pop in my head where, look at the succession of events. Osbo pops the motor at the end of Friday night.
He wins, pops the motor.
He wins, pops the motor, starts practicing today, pops the motor. Ryan talks about how he really didn't have much practice time, and the last time, or any practice time, the last time he drove was at nighttime, right? So one thing leads to the next, and all those things, had they gone one direction differently, maybe we wouldn't be sitting in this situation. Not we, but Frederick Osbo and his team. Let's assume an incomplete, and I'm pretty sure after looking at the judges that that's what it is.
Yep, so here we go. Let's go. Ryan Litteral, Frederick Osbo. Major pressure on Frederick Osbo's shoulders and the steer wheel in his hand. Ryan Litteral running high on the bank. Frederick Osbo knows he needs to leave it all out on the track or his weekend is done, as well as his championship efforts. Ryan Litteral throwing down a gangster run. Mr. 909-951 is lit, literally. Ryan Litteral bringing into that final outside zone. Frederick Osbo, is this enough? Again, after assuming, woo, that is a great chase run. All the fans, I'm sure, are in agreement. The big thing is that first run with Frederick out front was at an incomplete.
Remember, Osbo incompleted. I'm putting that in parentheses, in the lead. So that means that Ryan Litteral would have to incomplete in the lead. There's no incomplete here, Jared.
It was a solid run by Ryan Litteral.
Ryan Litteral went out and did his job, even with Frederick Osbo putting the pressure on him. And we're going to start seeing these things happen. This is probably the end of Frederick Osbo's 2020 campaign. He's currently sitting right now in 3rd place with 448 points, and that may be all that he gets in 2020.
And again, the story is, you know, just like you said prior to the beginning of this, right as they were starting, you know, just all the little nuances, all those little things, you know, again, it's the tow arm, it's the engine, it's this, just backtracking here. And here is the RTR team, Vaughn Gittin Jr., Chelsea Denofa, and the RTR teams looking on to find out the outcome here. Again, Tuerck sitting in 2nd. He is in the top 16. Slide him left for Osbo, right for Ryan Litteral. Chris Yule says Ryan Litteral. Lantain says Ryan Litteral gets the win. Frederick Osbo is knocked out. His championship effort is over for 2020. Ryan Litteral gets the win, and it is unanimous. Ryan Lantain, going to you, the judge. We're going to turn you on here. And again, these guys are watching. They're tuning in. And again, round of applause from that RTR team. They're stoked. Litteral, was that first run by Freddie incomplete?
Yes, absolutely it was. On outside zone number 1, when he hit the wall, you could see his front wheels actually turning down the bank, and then went straight for quite a distance before getting the car back to angle. And props to Ryan Litteral for having that kind of pressure on him, knowing that all he needed to do was put together that lead run, and he put together a solid lead run. He wasn't put out of place by Osbo being so close to him. He wasn't intimidated by that, and he put together a run and he got the win.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan Litteral. As we have Ryan Lantain. Sorry, I got my R's and my L's confused there. All right, Adam LZ versus Alec Robbins, and 2 FD rookies, as Adam LZ has been dealt all these veterans. Remember when he made his pro debut, we saw him go against Chris Forsberg, we saw him go against Vaughn, and here he is, 2 FD rookies in the pro championship. LZ back behind the wheel of his Injuku Racing, BC Racing S15. Alec Robbins, great to see him back after we missed him in Texas. All right, so here we go. And the 350Z, look at LZ, slingshot out of that start chicane, gapping him. But watch Robbins, man. He has a lot of power on deck. Look at him, reeling him in. Man, looks like he's going deep sea fishing for some LZ tuna. Coming past that front clip, now into that 2nd outside zone. Goes out of LZ, not all the way deep, and there it is. That's what Robbins does. You can see him right there on the door of the S15. They're going to leave it all out on track. They know this is the final round of competition. Little wavering correction there by LZ as they cross the finish line.
Well, Robbins is probably not really happy with himself on the jump out of that gate. He got out of the gate a bit early and then had to kind of stop for a second, and that led to this gap where he started chasing down Adam LZ. He's not really in the fight till about here. Now he starts getting in, keeping that proximity on. Now luckily for Robbins, LZ's not running the greatest lead line. He cut outside zone 2 a little bit short. That gave Robbins an opportunity to think about his preparation for his lead run. But he did make a mistake, Robbins, that is, getting out of the gate a little bit late and giving that edge and distance to Adam LZ about maybe more than halfway through the bank.
LZ currently leading with a confident, I mean, over 100 points over Alec Robbins, or sorry, just under 100 points over Alec Robbins. So Adam LZ will most likely be your Formula Drift Rookie of the Year unless Alec Robbins continues on and essentially wins the event. But Adam LZ just garnering a lot of fans and bringing him into Formula Drift, and it's great to see him just make the decision going from Pro 2 to Pro, and that was purely based on, well, I'll be at all the locations for the Pro 2 Championship, why not enter Pro? And I think he's done really well in spades. So here we go. Alec Robbins will lead Adam LZ, giving chase. Robbins initiates. LZ back there quite a bit. Oh, and Robbins taps not once but twice. Shaken, not stirred, continues on, keeps it high, and that was due to him tapping the wall. Robbins got a lot of horsepower under the hood, or just poking out of that 350Z. LZ taking a shallower line, but brings it tight to that front clip, and Robbins continues through the course. LZ tucking into that smoke trail. So you can see Robbins definitely has a little bit more horsepower than that of LZ, just separating and pulling away from LZ.
Well, at first glance, I'm thinking that this may come down to the chase runs because both drivers had some mistakes in their lead. Right there, a pretty sizable mistake from Robbins. You can see the front wheels really adjusting. He was able to give a good save. Let's take a second look at it here. This is from on top of the tower. He's going to tap the rear bumper, make a big adjustment, and then moving back around to that inside clip. Now, LZ was not really in the mix here. He started to close the door a little bit on this inside bank, taking a slightly lower line there, but was not able to fully grasp the back bumper of Alec Robbins. Didn't get super tight to him. Robbins, huge plume of smoke. LZ taking some of those cylindrical cones out, which means he was going off course there. And as we take a look here with Vaughn Gittin Jr., we're waiting on scores. Let's go down to Lorette Nickel, who's with Vaughn.
Thank you, guys. I don't know if you could just see the Rockstar team over here. Frederick Osbo's team was over here. What did they just say to you, Vaughn?
They said, go get it. They told me that, that they worked all night. They had a spare, but they knew it was going to be underpowered. They worked all night building a motor just to beat us, and unfortunately it didn't work out. And I explained to them, I was sitting here last night thinking, I've known Frederick since he's come into Formula D, and he was a scrappy, hungry kid from Norway, and just trying to figure it out. And but he's had so much heart and such skill. And last night, for him to do what he did and put himself in a position that today, him and I would have battled, and he had the opportunity to take it all tonight. It was just a really cool thing that I was just processing in my head for him. I mean, obviously I'm confident I want to win, right? But it was just such a cool thing, and kind of reflecting on him and his, he's a killer, and the dude's an amazing driver, and he's not scared of anything. And it's a pleasure to run and battle him, especially his team, and it's teams like that push our team and us as drivers to be better. And, they've had a rough weekend, changing motors, changed suspension in 5 minutes. And, got them back out there, and, this is drifting, and it just didn't go their way. And obviously it makes what we have to do here a tiny bit easier, if you will. But, again, we're staying where we're at, as focused as we can be, one battle at a time. And, there's no sigh of relief until, we're in the finals tonight against Chelsea.
Vaughn, thank you so much.
There we go. Thank you so much, Lorette, and good luck to you, Vaughn Gittin Jr. We'll see him in top 16. Vaughn Gittin Jr. will go against Ryan Litteral. And here are the results of LZ and Robbins. And Adam LZ moves on. I know his fans are ravenous, and they are excited about seeing Adam LZ advance on to the top 16, baby. As Alec Robbins, unfortunately, his season is done, but again, just a fierce competitor. And there are the AM Virtual Fan Zone, a lot of them cheering for LZ. And there you have it. A lot of those fans are happy. One more battle left in 32, Ryan.
Yeah, and just talking to the judges here, they did give Alec Robbins an incomplete on that wall hit there, so that was the main contributing factor for that, and that is why Adam LZ, even though he didn't have a strong performance, with the big mistake resulting in an incomplete from Alec Robbins, that was going to be enough to get the win.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a gift there in talking about Adam LZ, and yeah, there you go, bro, right on. That's what's up. Hey, let's go. Obviously, that's his favorite vehicle. That's his favorite driver. Only one more battle left, Ryan. The scenarios unfold. Osbo not part of the equation as far as the championship goes. Ryan Tuerck still in it. And if Tuerck beats Nerren and Denofa beats Essa, it would be Denofa and Tuerck, or it could be Tuerck and Essa. So we'll see what happens there. But again, Vaughn Gittin Jr. going against Ryan Litteral.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the story now is Osbo's out of the picture, right? Yeah. We will focus our attention to Ryan Tuerck and Vaughn Gittin Jr. as our two main protagonists to try to win the championship, with obviously Vaughn having the lead. But of course, Chelsea Denofa's on the opposite side of the bracket. He's got an opportunity there, so we'll keep an eye on him as well. And it's turning out to be very much an Irwindale style type of event.
That's what I said, Irwindale, right? Like it's just how it always comes to be. And again, we've seen notable crashes like Yoshihara, you know, Ken Gushi. These guys have been drifting here since '04 and even prior to that, but Formula Drift has been coming here since 2004.
Yeah, it's been 17 fast years, man. It goes by so very, very quick.
You still look great.
You got to stop and just appreciate everything a few moments, especially at a time like this. So it's really cool, man.
And you've been trying to grow that facial hair since '04, and it finally has come in.
It's finally come in a little bit.
Yoshihara, Kenshiro Gushi, the OG versus Slide or Die, Jiro. All right, Die out front, Ken Gushi in that chase position. Ken Gushi, he's had a lot of gremlins as well, as Yoshihara keeps it high on the bank. And Ken Gushi in that chase position, that rowdy energy, Toyota racing, Toyota GR Supra, chasing him down. Look at that, woo, we got some banging. Knocking on Die's door, not Heaven's door, as we bring it across that final outside zone, filling all of it, and across the finish line.
Ken Gushi is obviously very hungry here. His team going through a tremendous amount of effort to rebuild his engine from Friday. Got the win here last year, wants to do it again, but Daijiro Yoshihara standing in his way. Great job through that inside clip after a solid bank. Coming into outside zone 2, midline to high line there by Daijiro Yoshihara, and the pressure from Ken Gushi starting to compress through inside clip number 1. They make contact. No major movement there from Dai as Gushi gets right back on it. And a beautiful way to start this all-Japan battle here between Daijiro Yoshihara and Ken Gushi.
And OGs, right? I mean, these guys, we always jokingly, you know, jokingly and lovingly always call Dai Ken and Ken Dai, you know, just because, I mean, you've never seen them in this, no, you have seen them in the same room together, so joking. All right, so Ken Gushi will now lead, and we talked about, you know, he showed his oil pan the other day. Don't want to see the metal in your oil, and that's what happened to him. So I know him and his crew worked over the night, you know, from Friday into yesterday, and now here the car is running. But look at that, it's purging the nitrous here, that Rowdy Energy Toyota Racing Toyota GR Supra going against the Turn 14 Distribution Falcon Tire Subaru BRZ of Dai Yoshihara. Kenshiro Gushi and Daijiro Yoshihara. Gush will lead, the OG. Here we go. Send it. Come on, fellas. Ken Gushi initiates on the bank. Yoshihara give himself some room, but now gains that proximity. Lower on the bank is Yoshihara. Ken Gushi, something to prove as Dai makes a major correction there, coming off the bank, and a quick little transition and flick. Oh, and Dai straightens out a big correction once again. Yoshihara really fighting and struggling with the vehicle. You have to think that something is afoot. Oh, another correction on that transition. Ryan Sage, we're looking at Dai making mistakes in that chase position. Ken Gushi putting his car in all the right places. Oh man, bummer for Dai, but Ken Gushi is stoked.
Yeah, these are the kind of signs that you like to see from a driver like Ken Gushi. Looks like he's got his confidence back. And both runs were high-risk runs. Look at this initiation, nice and high on the bank. Beautiful job there. Daijiro Yoshihara comes a bit unstuck there, makes a mistake in the chase coming off the bank. And then the one you mentioned here, on outside zone number 2, right there, that's a big one. That probably isn't incomplete. But Ken Gushi unfazed, huge Achilles smoke line off of outside zone 2, and then Dye trying to get back in the game here, but Ken Gushi making it tough for him as he crosses the finish line.
And if you can recount, last year, Ken Gushi took it to the top here at Irwindale, and that was, I believe, just a very emotional and just respectful victory for the OG Ken Gushi. Slide him left for Yoshihara, right for Ken Gushi, and there it is. Ken Gushi, the Goosh, gets the win, and our top 16 is set. We're talking about the Royal Purple top 16. Royal Purple, the synthetic experts, the official engine oil of Formula Drift. So our 16 is set, and the stage is set for our championship for a few drivers, notably 2, Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Ryan Tuerck. Here's a look at the bracket. Ryan Tuerck's going to kick things off as we enter into that Royal Purple top 16. He's got to go against Nerren, a rookie. He's been struggling, let's be quite honest. If Nerren needs to show up in a major way, and Ryan Tuerck needs to make no mistakes. Denofa versus Essa. Denofa, I mean, RTR, right? He could be protecting Vaughn Gittin Jr., but Michael Essa, we saw him get 2nd place, but we saw Denofa get 3rd place the other night. Taylor Hull, Dylan Hughes, that should be a fun one to watch. But let's talk about the story. So Kazuya Taguchi, Jeff Jones, Jeff Jones is on one. Talk about the right side, Ryan.
Well, Chris Forsberg, obviously still a few questions remain open. He's got to get through Odie Bakchis, which is tough. Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Ryan Litteral, another tough battle. But obviously with Ryan Tuerck and Chelsea Denofa potentially facing off, that is going to be one to watch. Before we close and go to the break and come back in top 16, let's go down to Lorette Nickel.
Ryan Sage, thank you so much. Ryan Litteral, you were talking about how challenging this season has been for you, but you guys have been such lion hearts. Talk about the dedication to your program.
Well, not every day is perfect, right? And the amount of stress and challenge that of having all the events so closely condensed together has been a struggle, but every day is a new day, and you have to go at it with a full heart and just never give up. And that's what me and my team have been doing.
Absolutely, for sure. And the term giant killer was thrown your way. You took out Frederick Osbo, and now you're going to be facing Vaughn Gittin Jr. What do you do to supersede him?
Just drive as hard as I can.
That's the deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science. I just got to drive hard, and, it's a dream of mine to face all these guys. I mean, when I woke up and I saw the bracket, I just thought in my head, I was like, it's just a dream bracket. I would love to face all these guys that are champions and really show what I'm made of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ryan, thank you so much. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Guys.
Yeah, and he's talking about that dream bracket. I mean, the pace for Ryan Litteral would be if he takes out Osbo, he goes against Gittin. If he took him out, he'd have to go against Forsberg or Odie. And then on the other side, down below him, you got Gushi, you got JTP, Reed, or LZ. But I like that perspective of even after competing for so many years for Litteral, he still enjoys it. Talk about the scenarios. Well, number 3, we know he's out.
Yeah, well, Osbo obviously going out now makes us focus our attention on Ryan Tuerck and Chelsea Denofa, because they're going to face each other potentially in the Great 8, and Denofa could play spoiler for Tuerck. It's all in Tuerck's hand at this point. He could potentially win his first championship here, but he's got a bit of a hill to climb because Vaughn Gittin Jr. is not on his side of the bracket.
Yep.
Vaughn is on the other side of the bracket. So for Vaughn, it's really in his hands. He can capture, lead, and take his second championship, which would be 10 years ago was when he captured his first championship.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and a lot of history for Vaughn Gittin Jr. He's the first ever American to win D1 here at this venue. And again, championships have been crowned here for 17 years. We'll take a break and we'll be back here 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Local time here is 3:15, so just under 2 hours. Thank you for joining us, AEM Virtual Fan Zone. It's been a party. So again, just under 2 hours. Join us 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time as we will continue on here for the Formula Drift Pro Championship. This is the Type S title fight. We'll be under the lights when we return. The sun will set, but we'll clutch, kick, and take some names here at the House of Drift, Irwindale, California. This battle